You do not need a new life, you need a new mind. Hello, I am Carl Jung, and today I want to reveal a deep psychological truth. Life does not stagnate because of a lack of time, money, or luck. Most people believe they must start over, change everything, or wait for a perfect moment. But that moment never arrives. The reason is simple and rooted in the psyche itself. It is not your external reality that determines your future, it is your inner world. When the mind is contaminated by unconscious fears, repressed contents, and paralyzing thoughts, every opportunity appears unreachable. This is why inner transformation always precedes outer change. Your life changes when your way of perceiving and interpreting reality changes, not when circumstances magically rearrange themselves. Life becomes stagnant because the psyche is filled with noise, anxiety, and limiting beliefs that block your natural drive toward growth. That inner noise acts like an invisible brake. It makes you hesitate, delay, and silence your own potential. Many people believe they are physically exhausted, but the deepest fatigue is psychological, born from inner conflict. You carry worries, comparisons, old narratives, and inner voices that whisper, "I cannot." When you bring awareness to this inner clutter, you recover your psychic energy, and with it, your capacity to make conscious and meaningful decisions. The true adversary is never outside of you. It resides within the unconscious layers of your own mind. It is not your boss, not the economy, and not your past. It is that internal voice that insists you are insufficient, that time has passed, that change is impossible. This voice shapes your perception, your actions, and your confidence. What makes it dangerous is that it operates automatically, beyond awareness. That is why the first step toward an extraordinary life is recognizing that the most important struggle takes place within your own psyche. When you begin to integrate that inner conflict, the external world starts to reorganize itself. A mind saturated with complaints, doubts, and toxic patterns cannot give birth to a meaningful life. Complaint weakens the ego, doubt immobilizes the will, and toxic thoughts narrow your ability to perceive possibilities. Growth requires inner space, and to create that space, you must release what obscures clarity. Focused thinking allows you to see solutions where you once perceived only obstacles, and it allows you to move forward when others remain frozen. A clear mind is a creative, courageous, and disciplined mind. Every authentic transformation begins by refining your inner dialogue and consciously choosing mental discipline, awareness, and direction. When you choose your thoughts with the same care you give to your body, your life begins to transform day by day. The psyche responds to clarity. When you understand what you think, you understand how you act. When you understand how you act, you understand where you are going. When you bring order to the mind, everything else begins to align. And that is where your true life begins. The modern poison does not enter through the mouth, it enters through the eyes. We live in an age where informational overload has become the new, silent threat to the psyche. Never before have humans had access to so much information, and yet never have they been so confused, so scattered, and so mentally drained. Every image, notification, and external opinion absorbed without reflection becomes a distraction that fragments attention. Without realizing it, the focused mind turns into a dispersed mind, and a dispersed mind cannot support a meaningful existence. Digital noise drains psychic energy, exhausts attention, and creates the illusion of movement when there is only consumption. It feels like progress. It feels like learning. But in truth, it is the accumulation of irrelevant material that overwhelms the unconscious. Mental energy is finite, and when it is wasted on empty stimuli, nothing remains for your goals, your ideas, or your personal individuation. When you grasp this truth, you begin to choose carefully where you place your attention. Negative information, saturated networks, and constant stimulation contaminate inner clarity. Every piece of content entering your mind competes with your own inner voice. This is why so many experience anxiety without understanding its origin. Their psyche is overloaded with information that does not nourish, guide, or strengthen. Excess stimulation creates confusion, and confusion blocks inner development. If you seek a strong mind, you must first protect it from the noise that weakens it. To reclaim your power, you must filter what you consume, cleanse your stimuli, and return to ideas that nourish, inspire, and reinforce your purpose. This does not mean disconnecting from the world. It means reconnecting with yourself. It means consciously choosing what kind of content supports your growth and what merely distracts you. When you adopt this practice, you will notice clearer decisions, renewed mental energy, and the natural return of creativity arising from a psyche that is finally heard. When you reduce external noise, your psyche begins to breathe again, allowing thought, reflection, and creation to emerge without anxiety. You regain clarity, you regain focus, and you recover your ability to move forward without feeling overwhelmed. You realize that you did not need more information, but less. You did not need more stimulation, but inner silence. From that silence, taught, arises your most authentic thought, your clearest strategy, and the version of yourself that is most aligned with your true self. A clear mind is a powerful mind, and a powerful mind always finds a path toward fulfillment. The more you look outward, the less you listen inward. Comparison is an emotional poison that erodes self-worth and fractures identity. When you compare yourself to others, what you are truly doing is measuring your soul with a scale that was never designed for your unique psychological structure. Each individual moves at a different rhythm, shaped by distinct histories, unconscious patterns, and singular strengths. Yet when you fall into comparison, you disconnect from your own innate talents and begin to believe you are always behind, even when that belief is false. This distortion drains your psychic energy, weakens motivation, and clouds perception. Each time you measure your journey against someone else's, your mind fragments and your inner clarity dissolves. You no longer observe your life through the lens of your own purpose, but through the achievements, appearances, and successes of others. This creates anxiety, frustration, and even resentment, because your attention shifts toward what you lack instead of what you are capable of integrating and building. A focused mind progresses. A comparative mind stagnates. That is why returning attention to your own individuation process is essential. Life is not about competing with anyone. It is about listening to yourself, knowing yourself, and advancing at your own psychological pace. When you truly understand this, your inner energy shifts. You stop chasing standards that do not represent your authentic nature and begin creating from the core of who you are. When you operate from authenticity, your decisions become clearer, your goals more grounded, and your emotional balance more stable. External competition fades, An inner competition, the commitment to become more conscious than yesterday, becomes your true driving force. Releasing the habit of seeing yourself through the eyes of others restores your personal value, your vision, and your confidence. You recover the ability to recognize your progress, to acknowledge your growth, and to feel genuine respect for your own evolution. When you observe yourself through self-acceptance rather than judgment, you begin making choices that elevate your future instead of undermining it. Progress is no longer measured by what others achieve, but by the loyalty you maintain to your own inner work. When you focus on becoming your most integrated self, you reclaim mental freedom, release external expectations, and return to the essence of your life's meaning. That freedom allows you to move forward without pressure, without comparison, and without anxiety. This is where true transformation occurs, when the mind stops pursuing the lives of others and begins consciously constructing its own with strength, clarity, and direction. Authentic fulfillment never arises from looking outward. It always emerges from listening deeply within. Your inner voice can be your guide or your greatest obstacle. Inner dialogue is one of the most powerful forces within the human psyche. Everything you repeatedly tell yourself becomes the foundation upon which you build your decisions, your actions, and even your perception of your own potential. Many people wonder why they fail to progress, unaware that they have spent years speaking to themselves in a language of defeat, doubt, and insufficiency. The way you speak to yourself shapes your confidence, your daily energy, and your response to life's challenges. If your inner voice is harsh and relentlessly critical, you are conditioning yourself for stagnation. Excessive self-criticism does not strengthen you. It weakens you, drains motivation, distorts clarity, and creates an internal resistance that halts progress before it even begins. It is like trying to run while carrying a heavy psychological burden on your shoulders. No meaningful achievement can be built upon self-denial. The psyche requires inner support, not punishment, to unfold its potential. When you replace destructive inner language with firm, conscious, and realistic affirmations, your sense of identity begins to shift. This is not about empty repetition, but about choosing words that reconnect you with your capacity, your intrinsic worth, and your responsibility toward your own becoming. When your inner dialogue aligns with your goals, your behavior begins to change in a natural way. You become more disciplined, more confident, and more decisive because your mind stops being an obstacle and becomes your ally. Speaking to yourself with respect is an act of personal leadership. It means taking responsibility for directing your thoughts toward what strengthens you instead of what limits you. From a Jungian perspective, would say this is the moment when consciousness begins to guide the psyche rather than be ruled by it. It means looking at yourself with the same compassion you would offer someone you truly love. When you treat yourself with respect, your self-esteem grows, your energy increases, and your decisions flow with greater emotional intelligence. The way you speak to yourself determines the way you act. A conscious affirmation, repeated daily, has the power to reshape your self-concept and free you from self-sabotage by integrating unconscious patterns into awareness. This is not superficial motivation. It is deep psychological reprogramming. Every word you repeat with conviction creates new mental associations that gradually replace negative patterns rooted in the unconscious. Over time, this new inner voice becomes your guide, your internal mentor, the force that pushes you toward right action and inner coherence. It is the emergence of the self, not the ego reacting blindly. Changing your inner dialogue is perhaps one of the most transformative decisions you can make in your life. Resentment is drinking poison while expecting the other person to suffer. Holding on to the past intoxicates your psychic energy. Many people feel stuck because they keep reliving old wounds, unfinished conversations, or moments that no longer have a solution within the present moment. Every time you bring that memory into the present, you relive it emotionally, and that cycle slowly erodes your mental strength. Resentment acts like an invisible anchor. No matter how much you want to move forward, you remain tied to what once was. And while you cling to pain, your mind loses clarity, your motivation weakens, and your vision of the future becomes clouded by unresolved complexes. You do not move forward because you continue carrying emotions, wounds, and frustrations that consume your mental energy. Resentment, although it may seem like a form of protection, actually weakens you. It traps your energy in what you can no longer change and prevents you from placing your attention on what you can still build. When your mind is occupied by bitterness, it loses the ability to see opportunities, make intelligent decisions, and act with determination. The energy you could use to grow is wasted on a past that no longer exists. Forgiving is not justifying, it is freeing yourself. Forgiveness is a tool of personal power, not an act of weakness. It does not mean that what happened was acceptable, but that you are no longer willing to let it control your inner world. Carl Jung understood this as reclaiming projection and withdrawing psychic energy from the past. To forgive means to recover your ability to direct your life without allowing a negative memory to dictate your present emotions. It is an act of emotional intelligence and psychological maturity. You choose your well-being over wounded pride. When you release resentment, you regain personal power, clarity, and inner space for new possibilities to emerge. It is like cleaning a room that has been filled with useless objects for years. Suddenly, there is space to breathe, think, and create. Your mind becomes lighter, your energy stronger, and your focus sharper. When you stop spending emotional force sustaining the past, you can invest it in building a future of far greater value and meaning. The past is not overcome by analyzing it 1,000 times. It is overcome by closing the door and choosing not to carry that weight anymore. Excessive reflection only recycles pain. Liberation arrives with a firm decision. This no longer defines me. When you make that decision, your life begins to move forward naturally. You regain balance, inner peace, and the creative power to shape something better. Freeing yourself from resentment does not only transform your mind, it transforms your destiny. You are not moving forward. You are accelerating out of fear. Many people live in constant urgency. They rush, they hurry, they do countless things, but they do not advance. Hurry is not productivity, it is anxiety in disguise. True precision is born from calm, not from frenzy or compulsive motion. When you slow down, you recover focus, mental strength, and the ability to make wise decisions. You do not need to move faster. You need to move with purpose. I say this because for decades in the human psyche, most people confuse movement with progress. They believe that being busy all day means they are growing, when in reality, they are trapped in a cycle of unconscious reactivity. They live extinguishing emotional fires, reacting impulsively, and allowing the pressure of the environment to dictate their actions. That state not only drains your energy, it also erodes your inner clarity. Moving forward is not running. It is choosing each step with intention. Anxiety accelerates the mind before intelligence has time to act consciously. That is why you end up making rushed decisions, committing avoidable mistakes, or abandoning projects that truly mattered to you. When you move from fear, your performance declines. On the other hand, when you breathe, center yourself, and reduce speed, your brain enters a state of greater efficiency and integration between conscious and unconscious processes. Calm is not passivity. It is a strategic tool. Remember something fundamental. Your life changes when you change your inner rhythm. The discipline of slowing down, although it seems simple, is a powerful advantage. It allows you to observe opportunities you once ignored, detect risks you previously overlooked, and act with a precision that transforms your results from the inside out. Calmness is the foundation of all personal mastery. Without calmness, there is no focus, and without focus, there is no sustainable success. I wouldn't ask you to move less, but rather to move with greater awareness, to stop running from fear and start moving forward from inner conviction. When you choose calmness, you choose to reclaim your personal power and put the ego at the service of being instead of anxiety. Every decision becomes more conscious, every action more effective, and it is precisely there that you begin to build a life guided by meaning instead of urgency. If your peace depends on having everything under control, you will never experience it. Excessive control is another expression of fear. The compulsion for perfection robs the psyche of its freedom and slowly depletes mental energy. Life will never be completely predictable. True security arises when you trust your adaptability, not your ability to control every variable. When you release that need, the mind becomes lighter, and life flows with greater serenity, resilience, and clarity. Throughout my work, I've observed countless people sabotaging themselves by trying to control every detail of their lives. This obsession with control stems from insecurity, the fear of making mistakes, the fear of failure, or even the fear of being judged. Ironically, the more one tries to force perfection, the more tension is created, and the fewer internal resources remain to address what truly matters. Absolute control isn't power. It's an emotional cage that traps the individual in constant worry. True peace arises when you accept that there will always be forces beyond your control. Life follows its own rhythms, and trying to manipulate them only increases frustration. When you trust your ability to respond intelligently to what happens, you regain inner strength and psychological balance. That confidence is the foundation of resilience, the ability to maintain equilibrium even when external conditions change. The most successful people don't try to control more, they adapt more skillfully. Letting go of control doesn't mean passivity, but rather acting from a healthier state of mind, releasing the demand for perfection, and instead choosing progress. When internal pressure decreases, creativity expands, decisions become clearer, and the mind gains space for strategic thinking. Mental flexibility is one of the most valuable abilities you can cultivate, as it allows for conscious movement even in uncertainty. And when you reach that state, you discover something essential. Emotional freedom doesn't come from mastering everything, but from mastering yourself. The moment you stop resisting the inevitable, you begin to live with greater lightness and meaning. Peace becomes your new starting point, not because the world is predictable, but because you have become stronger, more aware, and more capable of flowing with life instead of fighting against it. Your words are commands to the psyche. Every sentence you utter shapes your identity. Defeated language programs limitation, while conscious language strengthens confidence and inner authority. It's not about repeating empty affirmations, but about choosing words that remind you who you are, where you're going, and why you're capable of moving forward. A change in language produces a change in beliefs, and a change in beliefs transforms life. The words we speak daily build the inner architecture of our future. When you say, "I can't," "Nothing works for me," "I'm not enough," the psyche receives it as a literal instruction. The mind doesn't argue, it executes. And the more these phrases are repeated, the more a limited identity is reinforced, becoming a constant obstacle to growth. When you consciously choose expressions that strengthen character, you begin to reorient the psyche toward development and fulfillment. Words like "I learn," "I adapt," "I can improve," "I move forward" generate a different inner attitude. They activate mental patterns associated with action, problem-solving, and a constructive approach. Speaking to yourself with respect, firmness, and clarity is one of the most powerful disciplines you can cultivate. This isn't about self-deception or empty positivity. It's about guiding your psyche toward the person you're becoming. Your words must be aligned with your goals, your vision, and your daily habits. When you choose language that empowers you instead of holding you back, emotions shift, decisions improve, and actions gain consistency. Language is a strategic tool that must be used intentionally, and when this principle is fully understood, something fundamental becomes clear. Your life moves in the direction of your words. What you tell yourself, and you respond. Everything you postpone becomes a burden. Unfinished goals, unresolved conversations, incomplete projects occupy mental space and drain energy. When cycles are closed, focus and clarity return. The mind needs order, just as the body needs rest. Every resolved matter releases energy that can be used with greater strength and determination. Most people don't fail due to a lack of ability, but rather the silent accumulation of small, postponed tasks that eventually become a constant emotional burden. Every unresolved issue, however small, acts as an internal reminder that consumes attention. The psyche doesn't forget. It stores and accumulates until overload appears. Procrastination doesn't bring relief. It steals clarity. When you decide to face what you've been avoiding, something extraordinary happens. Mental energy is released. Completing a task not only closes a chapter, but also strengthens discipline and self-confidence. Every completed action sends a powerful message to the subconscious. I finish what I start. This simple habit boosts self-esteem and improves performance in all areas of life. Organizing your external world creates internal order. When responsibilities are clarified and commitments are fulfilled, the mind becomes lighter and more focused. From this state, you can think more deeply, make wiser decisions, and move forward without the pressure of accumulated clutter. Productivity isn't about doing more, but about eliminating what drains your energy. Every task completed is one less burden to carry. Progress doesn't always mean adding. Often, it means letting go, finishing, and restoring order. Clarity arises when the mind stops carrying the unnecessary. If you want to move forward with greater strength, Start by closing open cycles. That decision alone can release more energy than you can imagine. Overthinking doesn't create clarity, it creates paralysis. Clarity arises from action, not endless analysis. Overthinking generates doubt, anxiety, and confusion. The psyche needs boundaries, less rumination, and more decisiveness. When you move, even in small steps, things begin to align. Movement creates clarity. Mental paralysis only fuels fear. Many people mistake thinking for progress. They believe that hours of reflection will bring them closer to their goals, but instead, they reinforce insecurity. The mind can be an ally or a prison. With the habit of overanalyzing, the psyche seeks problems instead of solutions. Overthinking is not a strategy, it's risk avoidance. Clarity arises when you commit to the first step. You don't need all the answers, you need movement. The best decisions are revealed along the way, not in theory. Every action, no matter how small, provides real feedback, strengthens confidence, and opens a new perspective. Clarity is an outcome, not a starting point. The psyche is strengthened through engagement with reality, not through isolation in endless thought. When you choose action, you break the cycle of doubt and generate positive momentum. Action organizes the mind by forcing thoughts to align with a specific direction. It provides meaning, focus, and a sense of autonomy that thinking alone cannot offer. Movement doesn't always mean speed. It means refusing to be paralyzed. Mental paralysis is the silent enemy of growth. The only way to dissolve confusion is to act. Each step brings more clarity than countless hours of reflection. If you want to move forward, stop waiting for the perfect moment and start with what you have. Movement dissolves fear and clears the way. A mind without meaning is easily lost. Meaning is the compass that keeps the psyche oriented. When it appears, you reconnect with what truly matters, confusion fades, and peace emerges. The psyche naturally detoxifies when orientation is restored, when you remember who you are, what you seek, and why you act. Inner strength, motivation, and emotional balance return. A life with meaning is a life with clarity. People fail not for lack of talent, but for lack of direction. Without a defined purpose, any distraction can entertain you. The psyche needs direction to use its energy effectively. Without purpose, thoughts scatter, days fill with meaningless tasks, and life becomes reactive rather than intentional. Purpose acts as a filter. It helps you decide what is worthwhile and what isn't. When purpose is strong, you stop investing in what doesn't build you up. You stop saying yes to everything and start focusing on what aligns with your vision. That focus brings you a peace. A life with purpose is not only clearer, but also lighter. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where you're going. Clarity arises when the mind stops wandering and commits to a meaningful destination. To regain mental strength, define your purpose and live it every day. A mind guided by purpose rarely gets lost. A mindless mind always will. True mental purification doesn't come from techniques, but from inner transformation. You cleanse the mind by reducing noise, modifying your inner dialogue, releasing the past, and reconnecting with purpose. When thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and habits align, power, clarity, and focus naturally return. Detoxifying your mind is an act of daily discipline, and according to it, is the most direct path toward becoming who you truly are. Most people look for quick solutions, a video, a book, a motivational quote. But the psyche does not transform through a moment of inspiration. It changes through a conscious and profound process. Mental detoxification begins the moment you choose to observe your thoughts instead of identifying with them. When you dare to question beliefs that no longer serve your individuation. When you stop repeating inner narratives that quietly drain your psychic energy. That is the real inner work, a transformation at the root, not a superficial adjustment. Each time you remove mental noise, negative information, empty conversations, and imagined worries, you reclaim inner space for clarity and awareness. When you transform your inner dialogue into a more conscious one, fear is replaced by possibility. When you release wounds from the past, you free psychic energy that was trapped in resentment, shame, or guilt. And when you reconnect with your authentic purpose, everything begins to align. Your decisions, your actions, and your emotional state. The mind operates as a system. It is not enough to cleanse one aspect while neglecting the others. You need an integral mental hygiene. This means refining your thoughts, regulating your emotions, consciously choosing your beliefs, and strengthening your daily habits. This process does not only change how you think, it reshapes your identity, your perception of reality, and your capacity to move forward with inner certainty. Daily discipline creates lasting transformation. Remember this, your mind is your most powerful psychological instrument. When you detoxify it, your entire life reorganizes itself. You become more present, more aware, more intentional. You make decisions with clarity. You act without fear and recover your natural ability to create extraordinary results. Mental detoxification is not an occasional practice. It is a way of life, and it is without question the most direct path to becoming the person you always knew you could be. True mental detoxification does not happen through a single technique. It happens through inner transformation. You cleanse the mind when you remove noise, transform your inner dialogue, release the past, and reconnect with your authentic calling. When you purify your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and habits, you regain power, clarity, and focus. Detoxifying your mind is an act of daily discipline, and it is the most direct path to your highest version. Most people seek quick fixes, a video, a book, a motivational phrase, but the psyche does not change through instant inspiration. It changes through a conscious and deep process. Mental detoxification begins when you choose to observe your thoughts instead of reacting automatically to them. When you question beliefs that no longer support your growth. When you stop repeating internal stories that weaken your spirit. A change at the root, not on the surface. Each time you eliminate mental noise, negative news, meaningless conversations, and imaginary concerns, you create space for clarity and insight. When you replace unconscious self-talk with conscious language, fear gives way to potential. When you release wounds from the past, you liberate energy that was bound to resentment or guilt. And when you reconnect with your purpose, everything aligns, your decisions, your actions, and your emotional state. The mind functions as an integrated system. It is not enough to clean one area and ignore the rest. You need complete mental hygiene, adjusting your thoughts, managing your emotions, choosing your beliefs, and reinforcing your daily habits. This process not only transforms the way you think, it transforms who you are, how you see the world, and your ability to advance with determination. Daily discipline creates permanent change. And remember this, your mind is your most powerful tool. When you detoxify it, your entire life reorganizes itself. You become more present, more conscious, more intentional. You make decisions with clarity, act without fear, and reclaim your natural capacity to create extraordinary outcomes. If this message brought value to your life, I invite you to subscribe so we can continue growing together. Write in the comments, "I release everything that holds me back." Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video. The majority of people don't fail because they lack ability, but because they lack the inner confidence to use what they already possess. They live trapped inside a loop of self-doubt and criticism, like a record that never stops skipping. Imagine this. You're trying to drive with the handbrake on. You move forward, yes, but with constant friction and unnecessary strain. Carl Jung would say that the first task of transformation is to release that inner brake, to stop resisting your own potential and allow your deeper self to take the wheel. What I want today is simple, to show you, step by step, how to silence that inner saboteur and build a genuine belief in yourself. This isn't blind faith. It's conscious training, a deliberate act of awareness. Your mind is a fertile garden, and every thought you plant becomes a seed that will, sooner or later, grow. If every day you sow insecurity, doubt will take root. But if you sow self-compassion and determination, inner confidence will flourish. Your past, your environment, or your mistakes don't decide the kind of seeds you can plant right now. And that's the good news. You can pull out the weeds of self-sabotage and plant new seeds today without waiting for anyone's approval or a perfect moment that doesn't exist. When I speak of self-trust, I'm not referring to a Sunday motivational quote. I'm talking about turning it into a daily practice, as natural as brushing your teeth. Confidence doesn't appear by accident. It's built, reinforced, and eventually becomes automatic. In this journey, there are no empty theories or cliches to hang on your wall. What you'll find here are clear methods, living metaphors, and practical strategies to reprogram your mind to act, to move forward, to stop postponing your potential. Together, we'll explore essential contrasts: self-love versus destructive self-criticism, decisive action versus paralysis by analysis, emotional independence versus toxic dependence. Recognizing these opposites will help you see where you stand and what subtle shifts you need to make to move toward your highest version. Faith in yourself isn't a luxury. It's a strategic choice that transforms performance and quality of life. Every time you choose a thought, you choose a destiny. It might sound exaggerated, but it's true. Your thoughts shape your emotions drive your decisions, and your decisions create your results. That's why confidence is more than a pleasant feeling. It's the root of every productive action and every lasting achievement. You can't control the world, politics, or circumstances, but you can control the story you tell yourself about what happens to you. It doesn't matter how many times you've failed or how often you've been told you can't. What matters is that you choose to believe from this moment forward. Think of your mind as a program. If you keep running outdated software, you'll face delays, errors, and frustration. But if you install updated beliefs, your system runs smoothly, and you are the programmer. No one else can rewrite your code for you. It's your responsibility and your chance. What's fascinating is that once you change your internal dialogue, your body language transforms. You walk differently, speak differently, and make decisions with greater clarity. And people notice. Opportunities begin to appear because you've become someone who moves through the world with certainty. It's like shifting from static to a clear, powerful frequency, and others naturally tune into it. Before we move on, I invite you to do something powerful. Write in the comments, "Today, I choose to believe in myself without excuses." This isn't just a phrase, it's your first declaration of inner commitment. By writing it, you plant the seed of a new perception. The way you see yourself begins to evolve. This sentence is the key that unlocks everything that follows. Believing in yourself isn't arrogance or vanity. It's an act of deep honesty with your own potential, acknowledging your value even when no one else does. Many confuse confidence with arrogance, and out of fear of appearing proud, they shrink their own light. But true confidence doesn't shout or demand. It simply breathes in the calmness of your presence. It's the quiet foundation upon which every other part of your life is built. The doubts that live in you today weren't born with you. No child comes into the world believing they are unworthy or incapable. Those beliefs were planted little by little through words, gestures, experiences, and judgments that shaped your perception. Parents, teachers, bosses, friends, society itself all left marks in your mind. Some inspired you, others planted fear, guilt, or the feeling of not being enough. Understanding this is liberation, because it means that if those ideas once entered, they can also be removed. When you realize your insecurities are learned, you understand they are not your identity. They're just old files stored in the subconscious. And just like any program, your inner system can be updated. You can decide which files to keep and which to erase. That single realization is already an act of power. You shift from being a victim of your story to becoming the conscious editor of your internal narrative. A practical way to begin is to observe your automatic thoughts. What do you tell yourself when you face a challenge? What phrases arise when you make a mistake? Those phrases are clues to your hidden beliefs. And if you discover that they are old recordings, "I'm not enough," "I don't deserve it," "I can't," don't treat them as truth. Treat them as background noise you can mute and rewrite. Remember this: your thoughts are not commands, they are choices. Each idea that appears in your mind is only a suggestion. You hold the final word. You decide whether to accept it or discard it. Most people react to their thoughts as if they were divine decrees. But when you understand that they're merely proposals, you take your power back. That's the difference between living on autopilot and living consciously. To replace inherited beliefs, you need two things: awareness and repetition. Awareness to detect them, and repetition to install new ones. Imagine your mind as an untended garden. At first, you must pull out the weeds, those limiting thoughts, and then plant new seeds, thoughts of strength and possibility. But planting once is not enough. You must water them daily. This is how a new neural pattern is formed, how authentic confidence is built. In this process, it is essential to ask yourself, whose voice is this that I hear inside my head? Often, when we harshly criticize ourselves, we are only repeating the words of someone from our past. When you recognize this, that voice loses its authority. It is no longer an inner judge. It becomes just an echo, and an echo fades when you stop feeding it with attention. By doing so, you create space for your real voice, the one that believes in you, the one that wants to see you move forward. To believe in yourself, as Carl Jung explained, is ultimately an act of personal responsibility. You cannot control what you were taught, but you can control what you choose to believe from this moment on. Every time you choose a thought of confidence over one of doubt, you take a step toward mental freedom. It is a daily training that transforms your posture, your actions, and your results. That is the first conscious step toward truly believing in yourself. When you look in the mirror each morning, you are not merely observing a physical reflection. You are witnessing the external representation of your thoughts, beliefs, and emotional state. The mirror is a silent reminder of who you have decided to be up to that moment. The way you look at yourself reveals the nature of your relationship with your inner world. If your inner dialogue is full of criticism, you will inevitably see flaws. If your inner dialogue is respectful, you will begin to discover possibilities and resources within your own image. The mirror functions as an emotional thermometer. If you rush past it without truly looking, you might be avoiding something deeper. But if you take a moment to observe yourself consciously, you begin to connect with your true identity. This simple practice demonstrates a powerful principle. The way you perceive yourself in the morning becomes the script you will act out for the rest of the day. A negative inner language creates a closed posture and low energy. A positive inner language awakens openness and confidence. The reflection you see is not static. It is a stage under construction. Each habit, each thought, each decision leaves its mark on that face and that posture. This is why training your mind to speak with respect and firmness has an immediate effect on your body. When you say, "I am capable," your muscles relax, your shoulders straighten, and your expression brightens. It isn't magic, it's biology. The brain responds to words as if they were instructions, and the body executes the program. Now imagine this. Every morning, the mirror is your stage, and you are both the actor and the director. What script do you wish to rehearse before stepping into the world? If you repeat the lines of self-criticism, you will end up playing the role of insecurity. But if you rehearse lines of strength, you will walk out embodying your best self. This metaphor helps you understand that you are not condemned to see yourself the same way forever. You can rewrite the script before every daily performance. Testing this is simple yet powerful. Look at yourself, smile, and speak an empowering affirmation aloud. At first, it might feel strange or unnecessary, but repetition turns it into an emotional anchor. Each time you declare something positive before the mirror, you reinforce neural connections linked to confidence and self-esteem. Over time, your mind begins to believe what your mouth says, and your body reflects it through gestures, tone, and attitude. This habit, though it may seem small, is one of the most effective tools in personal mastery. It is not about vanity or superficiality. It is about inner alignment. When your words, posture, and image are in harmony, you send a clear message to the world. I respect myself. I prepare myself. I am ready. That alignment opens doors that inconsistency closes, because people naturally trust those who appear centered and confident. The mirror also offers immediate feedback. If one day you look and notice exhaustion, apathy, or disconnection, instead of ignoring it, ask yourself, what thought am I feeding that makes me feel this way? That question brings you back to your power. You don't have to punish yourself for looking different. You only need to adjust your inner dialogue and your outer habits to reclaim your energy. It's a daily exercise of self-leadership that transforms your perception and therefore your results. Every time you look in the mirror, remember this. You're not just seeing your appearance. You're witnessing your identity under construction. You can choose to be your harshest critic or your most loyal coach. If you choose the latter, every glance becomes a moment of mental reprogramming. Those seconds, accumulated day after day, shape not only how you look, but how you feel and how you move through the world. That is the true power of the mirror, as a metaphor for identity. Confidence isn't a gift that arrives when everything is in order. It's a direct consequence of acting even when you don't feel ready. Waiting to feel prepared is a mental trap. In reality, it's action that creates readiness. Each small step proves to yourself that you are capable. It's like starting a cold engine. At first, it resists, but once it's running, the motion becomes natural. Every time you delay, you feed doubt. Procrastination is fertilizer for fear and insecurity. Your mind begins to associate your goal with discomfort and threat, making each new attempt harder to begin. But every time you decide to act, even when nothing feels certain, you strengthen your faith in yourself. Action is the natural antidote to emotional and mental paralysis. Most people believe confidence is a prerequisite for action, when in truth, it's the result of it. Like a muscle that grows with use, self-confidence strengthens through practice. So next time you feel afraid, don't wait for fear to vanish. Move with it. You'll discover that fear fades in the same proportion that your activity increases. Imagine your goals as a building. Each small action is a brick you lay in that structure. Maybe today you can only place one brick, but tomorrow you'll lay two. And by the end of the week, you'll have a solid foundation where once there were only blueprints. This vision helps you understand that no action is insignificant if it aligns with your purpose. Small steps, when added together, become something great. Write down 3 small actions you can take today to move closer to your goal. They don't need to be spectacular or complex. It could be making a call, reading a chapter, sending an email, or practicing a skill for 15 minutes. What matters is that you do them. Each completed task is a vote in favor of your identity as a proactive, confident person. The contrast is clear. When you stay still waiting for motivation to arrive, life grows heavier and problems expand. But when you move, even without desire, energy shifts. Action generates clarity, and clarity opens new opportunities. This isn't theory. Carl Jung saw it in countless people around the world. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay behind isn't talent, it's the habit of action. Acting, even in small ways, takes you out of victim mode and places you in creator mode. Paralysis says, "I can't." Action says, "I'm on my way." That difference in inner dialogue changes your posture, your tone, and how others perceive you. People trust those who move, not those who wait. Always remember this. Confidence is built through doing. If today you take one step, even a small one, tomorrow your faith in yourself will be stronger. And every step you take is a silent message to your mind. I can. I choose. I move forward. That's how you turn doubt into strength and insecurity into momentum. That is the essence of breaking paralysis and becoming someone who acts with determination. When you observe great athletes, you'll notice that they don't just train their bodies in the gym, they also train their minds every single day. Before competing, they close their eyes and see themselves winning, crossing the finish line, executing the perfect move. This practice is not an empty ritual. It's a proven mechanism to program their nervous system and strengthen their confidence. You can do the same with your personal and professional goals. Visualization is not daydreaming. It's a mental rehearsal of success that prepares you to execute it in reality. The mind does not clearly distinguish between an intensely imagined experience and a real one. When you repeat a powerful image, your brain creates the same neural connections as if you were already living it. That's why 5 minutes of focused visualization each day can have a deeper impact than hours of scattered thinking. Every visualization session is like invisible training that strengthens your self-confidence and sense of direction. When you close your eyes to practice, don't just see the scene. Feel it. Notice in detail how you look, how you breathe, what sensations move through your body. Listen to the sounds, smell the air, feel the texture of the moment. The richer the sensory experience you build in your mind, the stronger the map you imprint in your subconscious. It's like giving your mind an emotional GPS that guides you even in moments of doubt. By repeating this image, you create a mental map. That map becomes an anchor that guides you when things don't go as planned. Instead of getting lost in confusion, your mind remembers the direction and regains its course. It's like a pilot who knows his route even through turbulence. That clarity brings calm and confidence, two fundamental ingredients for effective action. The contrast is obvious. A person without visualization is like a ship without a compass, drifting and easily carried away by the current. But someone who practices daily visualization moves with purpose. Even when obstacles appear, their focus doesn't waver. That's the difference between those who merely try and those who achieve their goals with determination. 5 minutes of visualization a day is more than enough to begin. You don't need complex rituals or hours of meditation. What matters is consistency and the quality of the image you create. If every day you see yourself achieving your goal, your subconscious will begin to recognize and attract the opportunities that bring you closer to that vision. What once went unnoticed will now stand out before you. You can also complement visualization with present tense affirmations. For example, while imagining your goal accomplished, repeat phrases like, "I am capable, I succeed, my mind is focused." These words are the verbal fuel of the mental image. Together, they form a powerful combination that reprograms your identity and propels you to act in alignment with that new version of yourself. Remember, training your mind is just as vital as training your body. Just as a muscle needs repetition to grow stronger, your self-confidence needs daily practice to expand. Each time you visualize your success, you remove layers of doubt and build layers of certainty. That is the essence of mental training, preparing your mind to win before stepping onto the playing field of life. One of the greatest obstacles to believing in yourself is the habit of living behind masks. When you constantly strive to please, fit in, or appear as someone you're not, you send a silent message to your subconscious. My true self isn't enough. That message is devastating to your self-esteem. Every time you act against what you truly feel or think out of fear of rejection, you weaken your inner confidence, even if it seems easier in the moment. The problem with masks is that in the short term, they might bring acceptance, but in the long term, they create emptiness. It's like wearing a costume to earn temporary applause, only to be left with the hollow feeling of not being truly seen. Masks drain your emotional energy and force you to maintain a role that doesn't belong to you. That inner tension is one of the most common causes of anxiety and low self-worth. Choosing authenticity is an act of courage. It doesn't mean being rebellious or confrontational. It means acting in harmony with your values and needs. Every time you express an honest opinion, every time you say no to something that doesn't align with you, you reaffirm to your mind that your voice matters. That daily coherence builds an internal core of strength that no longer depends on external approval. Think of authenticity as a muscle. If you never exercise it, it weakens. But if each day you choose one small area to show your true self, that muscle grows stronger. It can be as simple as dressing the way you truly like, changing how you present yourself, or sharing your own thoughts in a meeting. Each small act of authenticity is a micro-training for your self-confidence. When you start living authentically, you'll feel a profound shift in your energy. You no longer waste emotional resources maintaining a persona. That liberation gives you new strength to pursue your goals. People may or may not approve, but you'll know you're aligned with yourself. That internal alignment is one of the strongest accelerators of genuine self-confidence. The contrast is clear. Masks promise quick acceptance, but steal your essence. Authenticity may bring initial discomfort, but it returns your personal power. In the realm of self-esteem, there are no shortcuts. You either pay the price of a false self or invest in building a true one. And the investment in your authenticity always pays the highest dividends. Moreover, when you are authentic, you inspire trust in others. People sense coherence. They know, even without words, who acts from truth and who acts from disguise. Being authentic not only makes you feel better about yourself, it also attracts healthier relationships, more aligned opportunities, and an environment where you can grow without exhausting yourself pretending. Remember, authenticity is not achieved overnight. It's trained. Each time you choose to be faithful to yourself, you tell your mind, "I am worthy as I am." That repeated and lived message becomes the foundation of unshakable self-belief. When you remove the masks and show up as you truly are, your self-confidence doesn't just improve, it expands, because at last, you're building your life on solid ground, not fragile facades. Just as no one questions the importance of good nutrition to keep the body healthy, few stop to realize that the mind also needs nourishment. Every piece of news you consume, every conversation you engage in, and every image you absorb from social media are forms of mental food. If you feed on emotional garbage every day, your mind weakens and your confidence deteriorates. Carl Jung taught that the first key to self-trust is to become aware of what you allow to enter your inner world. Imagine your mind as a garden. If you constantly throw waste, weeds, and harmful chemicals into it, that garden cannot bloom. But if you water it with clean water, sunlight, and nutrients, flowers will inevitably grow. It's the same with your thoughts and beliefs. You cannot expect to harvest optimism, clarity, and confidence if you keep planting fear, complaint, and hopelessness in your mental soil every day. So here's a powerful challenge: 30 days of positive mental diet. During this time, you'll become a conscious guardian of what enters your mind. You'll carefully choose what you read, what you watch, who you speak to, and what you give your attention to. This isn't about living in a bubble or denying reality. It's about strengthening your mind so it can face reality from a place of inner power, not weakness. Through this process, you'll start noticing how many sources of mental pollution you had normalized, News that constantly promotes fear, social media filled with drama, or friends who complain endlessly. By becoming aware of that consumption, you'll realize you have the power to choose. And that daily choice is an act of self-respect. You're silently saying, my peace of mind is worth more than this dose of negativity. As you replace toxic content with inspiring information and uplifting people, you'll begin to notice subtle yet profound changes. Your inner dialogue will soften, your energy will stabilize, and your vision of the future will grow brighter. You'll no longer be swept away by the collective current of complaint. Instead, you'll be the one setting the tone of your day. That sense of control becomes one of the strongest foundations of self-confidence. Jung would remind us that a positive mental diet isn't about superficial motivation. It's psychological hygiene. Just as you wouldn't let rotten food enter your body, you shouldn't allow toxic ideas to enter your mind unchecked. By training yourself in this practice, you're developing mental strength, the kind that keeps you firm even when life's circumstances turn against you. The contrast is clear. If you constantly feed on fear-based news, your vision of the world shrinks. But if you nurture your mind with ideas and examples that inspire, your perception expands. One paralyzes you, the other mobilizes you. One drains your energy, the other recharges it. Each day you practice this mental discipline, you reinforce the inner message that you deserve to think and feel expansively, that you have the right to protect your peace. After 30 days of conscious mental nourishment, you'll notice that believing in yourself will no longer be a conscious effort. It will become your natural state. Because when you stop intoxicating your mind, your true inner strength rises with greater power than ever before. Believing in yourself isn't a single moment. It's a daily choice. It's waking up and deciding, today I'll be my ally, not my enemy. That repeated decision shapes a powerful identity that no one can take away from you. Don't wait for everything to be perfect before you begin. Start now, with what you have, where you are. Every directed thought is a brick in the foundation of your new life. Every small action declares that you take yourself seriously. Remember, your external life mirrors your inner world. If you feed your mind with faith, hope, and discipline, those same elements will appear in your reality. It isn't magic, it's cause and effect. What you plant inside multiplies outside. So today, take that first step. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and say out loud, I believe in myself, and I act accordingly. Write it in the comments to make it real. Do it for yourself. Do it to begin training your mind today. What do you think has held you back the most so far? Your real limitations or your limiting thoughts? Most people live their entire lives without realizing that their greatest enemy isn't out there. It lives inside their own mind. And here's the truth: no one ever tells you. You are not a victim of your negative thoughts. You are their accomplice. Every single day that you allow negativity to control your mind, you are consciously choosing a mediocre life instead of the extraordinary one you could have. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to train your mind to think positively, not as some cheap self-help trick, but as the most powerful strategy that transformed my life and the lives of millions around the world. Let me ask you something crucial. How many times today have you spoken to yourself negatively? How many times have you thought, I can't, it's too hard, I'm not enough, or nothing ever works for me? If your answer is more than once, then right now, You are programming your mind for failure. And here's what's fascinating. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what is real and what you tell it is real. So if you keep feeding it with negativity, it will create a negative reality. But if you learn to master your thoughts, you can literally redesign your entire life. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you the exact inner system I've used for more than 40 years to keep my mind focused on the positive, even during the darkest moments. Let me take you back in time. Many years ago, I was a completely different man than the one you see today. I worked low-paying jobs. Some nights, I slept in my car, washing dishes in the back of a small hotel. I had no formal education beyond high school, no connections, no money, and worst of all, no hope. My mind was a battlefield of constant self-criticism. "You're a failure," said the voice inside me. "You'll never get out of this. You're not smart enough. Look at everyone else. They succeed, but you don't." Then one day, sitting in a small room staring out the window, I had a revelation that literally saved my life. I realized something profound. I was not my thoughts. My thoughts were simply mental habits I had developed over the years, and like any habit, they could be changed. In that moment, I understood that if I wanted to change my outer world, I first had to change my inner world. And that began by forcing myself, yes, forcing myself to think positively. Now I want you to understand something essential. When I speak of forcing yourself to think positively, I'm not talking about ignoring reality or pretending to be happy while everything collapses around you. I'm not talking about empty affirmations in front of a mirror while your life falls apart. That's what critics of positive thinking never grasp. True positive thinking isn't denial. It's direction. It's the conscious act of taking control of your inner dialogue and redirecting it toward possibilities, solutions, and opportunities instead of problems, complaints, and limitations. Let me explain how this works on a psychological level. Because once you understand the science of thought, everything changes. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system, the RAS. This system acts as a filter that decides what information from the outer world reaches your awareness and what gets ignored. Every second, your brain is bombarded with millions of bits of data, yet your RAS only allows in what it considers important, based on your dominant beliefs and recurring thoughts. Here's the key. Your RAS is constantly searching for evidence to confirm what you already believe. If you believe life is hard and opportunities are rare, your RAS will show you every obstacle, every rejection, every reason you can't succeed. But if you change your dominant thoughts and start looking for possibilities, solutions, and opportunities, your RAS automatically begins to reveal them. It's as if you suddenly see a completely different world, even though the world hasn't changed at all. The only thing that changed was your focus. So how do you force yourself to think positively when your entire life has been wired for negativity? The answer lies in what I call the 4 laws of deliberate positive thinking. The first law is the law of substitution. Your conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. You cannot think of 2 things simultaneously on a conscious level. That means you can deliberately replace a negative thought with a positive one at any moment. Every time you catch yourself thinking something negative, immediately, without delay, without excuses, replace it with its positive opposite. If you think, "I can't do this," replace it with, "I can learn to do this." If you think, "This will go wrong," replace it with, "I'll find a way to make this work. Have you ever considered this? Most people let their negative thoughts run wild like untamed horses. They never stop to realize that they have the power to choose. But from now on, you will exercise that power. Every negative thought that enters your mind will be replaced immediately. At first, this requires conscious effort, I admit, but after a few weeks of consistent practice, it becomes automatic. Your mind begins to reject negative thoughts on its own, like a mental immune system. The second law is the law of positive visualization. Your subconscious mind thinks in images. When you think in words, your subconscious instantly converts them into mental pictures. And here's what's crucial. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This means that when you visualize something with deep emotion, your brain literally begins to create neural pathways as if it had already happened. Carl Jung taught that imagination is not fantasy. It is the bridge between the conscious and the unconscious mind, the inner workshop where reality begins to take form. I have seen countless individuals, leaders, creators, dreamers, use this truth to transform their lives. They dedicate time each day to visualize their goals as if they were already achieved. They see themselves succeeding, feeling the emotions of accomplishment, living the reality they once desired. So when the moment to act arrives, their mind no longer hesitates, because it has already walked that path many times in imagination. I practice this every morning without fail. Before getting out of bed, I spend 5 to 10 minutes visualizing my perfect day. I see myself confident, energized, productive. I see myself completing my most important tasks with calm precision. I see myself interacting positively with others. And when I open my eyes, it feels as if my mind already knows exactly what to do, because we have rehearsed it together. Imagine how your life would change if you applied this every morning. Instead of waking up and letting your mind wander through worry and anxiety, you immediately take control and direct your thoughts toward the person you want to become and the life you want to live. This simple act, done consistently, has the power to reshape your entire reality. The next principle Jung emphasized is the power of directed affirmation. Many people say, affirmations don't work. I've repeated positive phrases and nothing changed. And they're right. Mere words do nothing. But when affirmations are combined with intense emotion, constant repetition, and congruent action, they become one of the most powerful tools to reprogram the subconscious mind. The secret lies in how you formulate them. An effective affirmation must be present tense, positive, personal, and emotionally charged. Instead of saying, I want to be successful, say, I am successful, and every day my success expands. Instead of, I hope to be financially free, say, I am financially free, and abundance flows toward me from many sources. Do you see the difference? The present tense tells your subconscious that this is already your reality. But here's the hidden truth Jung would insist upon. The subconscious only accepts what is felt deeply. When you repeat your affirmations, you must feel them in every cell of your body. You must generate the emotional state of someone who has already achieved what they affirm. Without emotion, words are only empty echoes in your mind. I have a list of 10 affirmations that I repeat every morning and every night, aloud, with conviction, with energy, with complete certainty that they are true. After years of doing this, those affirmations became my reality. Not because they are magical, but because they transformed my beliefs, and my beliefs transformed my actions, and my actions transformed my life. Try it this week. Write down 3 powerful affirmations about the areas of your life you want to improve: your health, your finances, your relationships, your purpose. Write them in the present tense, as if they were already real. Then, without fail, repeat them every morning and every night for the next 30 days. You will witness changes that will astonish you. Jung also spoke of the law of mental nourishment. Let me ask you something. If every day you ate junk food, sugar, and processed fat, would you expect a healthy, energetic body? Of course not. We all understand that we are what we eat physically, yet few realize that we are also what we consume mentally. Your mind is constantly being fed by the world around you. Every conversation, every show, every song, every book, every post is depositing something into your subconscious. And if most of what you consume is negative, violent, pessimistic, or filled with drama, your mind is being slowly poisoned. Years ago, I made a radical decision. I stopped watching the news, stopped spending time with negative people, stopped consuming entertainment that left me feeling worse. Instead, I began to feed my mind with positive, educational, and inspiring material, books on personal growth, stories of people who overcame adversity, teachings about consciousness and inner mastery. That single decision changed my destiny. My mind became a fertile garden where only constructive and luminous thoughts could grow. And when your mind is clean and focused, you make better choices, see opportunities where others see obstacles, and attract people and circumstances that align with your higher vibration. So ask yourself, what would happen if you started today to be extremely selective with what you allow into your mind? What if for the next 30 days, you only consumed content that made you wiser, stronger, more peaceful, more aware? I assure you, in a month, you would be an entirely different person. Jung understood that positive thinking is not about ignoring darkness. It's about consciously choosing light. It's not a tool for comfort. It's the foundation of every significant transformation in life. Every great human achievement began with someone who dared to think beyond the limits of fear and doubt. The Wright brothers dreamed of flight when everyone said it was impossible. Edison pursued the idea of light after 10,000 failed attempts. Martin Luther King envisioned equality when the entire system stood against him. Nelson Mandela held on to freedom during 27 years of captivity. These were not naive dreamers. They were conscious creators who refused to let external conditions dominate their inner world. And you carry that same power within you. No matter how broken your present reality may seem, no matter how many defeats you have endured, or how distant your dreams feel, right now you have the ability to make a decision that can transform everything. The decision to direct your mind toward light instead of darkness. Carl Jung said that the mind is both the prison and the key, and that the moment we choose to observe our thoughts consciously, we begin to shape a new destiny. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man, I'll call him Roberto. When he attended one of my sessions, he was bankrupt, heartbroken after a painful divorce, and had just lost the business he built for 15 years. He sat in the front row with empty eyes and a slouched posture, his spirit clearly broken. During the break, he approached me and said, "I used to be a positive person, but after everything I've been through, I just can't pretend anymore. Life hit me too hard." I looked at him and replied, "You're right. You can't pretend, but you can choose again. You can rebuild your mind. one thought at a time. I told him not to fake happiness, but to reclaim the only thing still under his control, his mental response. I gave him a simple exercise. Every night before sleeping, he had to write down 3 good things that happened that day, no matter how small. And every morning, he had to write 3 things he was grateful for. Just 6 lines a day. 3 months later, he wrote me an email. The first 2 weeks were hell. His mind resisted, rebelled, mocked the process, called it stupid. But he persisted. Slowly, his perception began to shift. He started noticing small opportunities that had always been there. He met people who offered help. Ideas for a new business emerged. His energy returned. His confidence rebuilt itself. Today, 5 years later, Roberto has a more successful business than before, is happily remarried, and tells me that crisis was the best gift life ever gave him, because it forced him to rebuild himself from the inside out. And it all began with the simple act of consciously choosing one positive thought at a time. But there's something deeper you must understand about positive thinking. It's not about pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Anyone can be positive when life flows smoothly, when the bank account is full, when health is good, when relationships are easy. The true strength of the mind is revealed when everything collapses, when odds are against you, when every outer voice screams, "Give up." In those dark moments, you must demand from yourself to find meaning, to look for the hidden lesson, to discover the seed of opportunity buried inside the pain. Because there is always an opportunity. Always. But it only reveals itself to those whose inner vision has been trained to see beyond appearances. And that inner vision is trained through deliberate, consistent, conscious thought. Write this down and keep it close. Within every crisis lies a blessing equal or greater than the challenge itself. This is one of the universal laws Jung spoke about, the law of polarity. But it only activates when you awaken your mind to search for it. If you panic, if you surrender to despair, if you let your thoughts spiral into fear, you'll never see it. But if you hold your mind steady, focused, open to solutions, doors will appear where before there were only walls. Over the years, I've called this the compound effect of positive thought. It works exactly like compound interest in finance. One single positive thought may seem insignificant. 2 may seem irrelevant. But when you repeat thousands of positive thoughts, day after day, week after week, month after month, something extraordinary happens. Your entire personality begins to transform. You become magnetic. People are drawn to you because you emit a different frequency. Opportunities begin to unfold in ways that seem magical. But it isn't magic, it's consciousness expanding. Your health improves because your stress diminishes. Your relationships deepen because you communicate from abundance instead of fear. Your financial situation rises because your mind, now attuned to possibility, begins to make wiser, higher-level decisions. This is the real secret shared by the most successful minds. Not luck, not connections, not talent, but the ability to hold their consciousness aligned with creation instead of destruction. Carl Jung once said that the world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, it will tell you. The greatest individuals of history, from leaders to visionaries, all mastered one inner art, the discipline of directing their thoughts toward what builds, not what breaks. The human mind is the ultimate alchemist. It can turn any suffering into wisdom, any loss into rebirth, any shadow into light. And that, more than anything else, is the power you already hold. the power to rebuild your world from the inside out, one conscious positive thought at a time. These are not extraordinary people. They are individuals who applied the same principles I'm sharing with you right now. And you can do exactly the same. You don't need special circumstances. You don't need an exceptional IQ. You don't need powerful connections. All you need is the will to take control of your mind and force it to work for you instead of against you. Now let me give you a clear plan of action that you can start implementing today. This is what Carl Jung called the 30-day mental transformation program. If you follow it with absolute discipline over the next 30 days, your life will become almost unrecognizable by the end of that period. Step 1. Every morning, right after waking up, before checking your phone, before speaking to anyone, before thinking about your problems, spend 10 minutes doing the following. 5 minutes of positive visualization, where you see yourself achieving your most meaningful goals. 3 minutes repeating your affirmations with deep emotion. 2 minutes writing down 3 things you are grateful for in this moment. Step 2. During the day, every time you catch yourself having a negative thought, stop immediately and use what Jung described as the law of substitution. It doesn't matter how many times you need to do it. If it's 100 times, then do it 100 times. This is mental training. And like any training, it's hard at first, but over time, it becomes natural. Step 3. For the next 30 days, eliminate every unnecessary source of negativity from your life. Turn off the news. Walk away from toxic conversations. If someone wants to complain to you, politely change the topic or remove yourself. This is not coldness. It's protection of your most valuable asset, your mental state. Step 4. Every night before going to bed, spend 5 minutes reviewing your day and finding what was good about it. Even if it was a terrible day, find at least 3 positive things that happened or 3 lessons you learned. Your subconscious mind is most receptive in those moments right before sleep, so the last thing it should receive is positive thoughts. Step 5. Read at least 20 pages of a positive, educational, or inspiring book every day. That's about 30 minutes of reading. Do this for 30 days, and you'll have finished a full book that will reshape your perspective. Do it for a year, and you'll have read 12 books, and you'll find yourself in the top 1% of your field. Step 6. Surround yourself with positive people. Actively seek individuals who are growing, who have goals, who are optimistic about the future. Their energy is contagious and will lift you up. As the old proverb says, "Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future." This program may seem simple, even too simple, but therein lies its power. It's not the complicated methods that change lives. It's the simple disciplines practiced consistently every single day. The problem is that most people never commit to consistency. They do something for 3 days, see no miraculous results, and quit. But true transformation takes time. It requires patience. It requires faith in the process, even when there's no visible evidence of progress. Think of a bamboo tree. When you plant its seed, you water and care for it every day. The first year, nothing. The second year, nothing. The third, still nothing. The fourth, nothing yet. But in the 5th year, suddenly, the bamboo grows 30 meters in 6 weeks. It didn't grow in 6 weeks. It grew through 5 years of invisible root development underground that finally allowed that explosive growth. Your mental transformation works exactly the same way. In the first days, weeks, or even months, you might not see major external changes, but beneath the surface, In your subconscious, new neural pathways are forming, old limiting beliefs are being erased, and new programs of success are being installed. And then, suddenly, everything changes. Opportunities appear, solutions reveal themselves, doors open, and it will seem like luck. But in truth, it is the inevitable result of your consistent inner work. And there's one more thing Carl Jung wanted you to understand about positive thinking. It isn't selfish, it's an act of service. When you elevate your mental state, you don't just benefit yourself, you uplift everyone around you. Your family thrives because you're more present, patient, and loving. Your colleagues gain because you bring solutions instead of problems. Your community grows because you become an example of what's possible. The world heals because you add light instead of darkness. One of the greatest mistakes people make, Carl Jung explained, is believing that self-work is selfish. Shouldn't I focus on helping others instead of working on myself? They ask. But you cannot give what you don't possess. If your cup is empty, you cannot fill anyone else's. When you fill your own cup with positive thoughts, elevated energy, mental clarity, and purpose, it overflows naturally. Your impact multiplies effortlessly. So when you commit to thinking positively, don't do it just for yourself. Do it for your family, who deserves your best version. Do it for your children, who are silently learning from your example. Do it for the lives you will touch once you become who you are destined to be. But let's be honest, this journey won't always be easy. There will be days when your mind rebels, when negativity seems overwhelming, when you want to give up and return to old patterns. Those days will come, I promise you. But in those dark moments, remember this: comfort is the enemy of growth. If it were easy to maintain a positive mindset, everyone would do it. But most don't. Most people take the path of least resistance, surrender to negativity, and live lives of quiet despair. But you are not most people. The very fact that you're here, listening to this, tells me that you're different. You're someone who seeks more, someone who understands that an extraordinary life requires paying the price of constant awareness over your inner world. Now, before we finish, let's do something together. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself 1 year from now. You've practiced these principles daily, without fail. You've trained your mind to think positively even through the hardest moments. You've protected your mental state as if your life depended on it, because it does. Now see yourself, how you look, how you feel, what you've achieved, how your relationships have evolved, what your energy feels like, what new opportunities surround you. Can you see that version of yourself? That person exists. That person is your inevitable future if you choose wisely today. Understand this deeply. That future version of you depends entirely on the present you making the right decision now. Every choice you make today is either creating or destroying that future reality. And the most important choice you can make right now is to commit completely to mastering your mind. If you found value in this message, I ask you to do 2 things. First, subscribe to this channel and activate notifications. I'm committed to creating content that helps you reach your full potential, and I don't want you to miss what's coming. Every week, I share tested principles and tools that can dramatically accelerate your success. Second, and more importantly, take immediate action. Don't let this be just another inspiring message you hear and then forget. Commit right now to your own 30-day mental transformation. Write down the actions you'll take. Schedule them. Tell someone about your decision to create accountability. Because here's the ultimate truth Carl Jung wanted us to remember. Your life won't change just because you listen to this. Your life will change because you acted on what you learned. Knowledge without action is mere entertainment, but knowledge with action becomes transformation. You've reached a turning point. You can continue living as you always have, letting your mind be ruled by external circumstances, reacting to life instead of creating it. Or you can take control, discipline your thoughts, and start designing the extraordinary life you deserve. The choice is yours. No one can make it for you. No one can do the work for you. But I can tell you with absolute certainty that if you make this decision, if you commit fully to mastering your mind, if you discipline yourself to think positively no matter what, your entire life will change in ways you can't yet imagine. Remember this, you are one decision away from completely transforming your life. Decide now. Act today. The extraordinary future you desire is waiting for you, but it won't come looking for you. You must go and claim it. And it all begins with one single positive thought, followed by another, and another, and another, until positive thinking becomes your natural state. I have worked with countless individuals throughout my life. I have witnessed transformations that defy logic. I have seen people rise from despair to abundance, and if they could do it, so can you. I have witnessed people once consumed by illness completely restore their health. I have seen marriages on the verge of collapse transform into deep, passionate unions. I have seen those lost in despair rise to become luminous guides for others. And every one of these transformations began in the same sacred place, within the decision to take control of their inner world. Carl Jung taught that transformation begins not by changing what surrounds you, but by confronting what lives within you. You hold power now, not tomorrow. Not when life feels easier, not when you have more time or more resources. Right now, in this very breath, the power to alter your existence lies within your mind. And all you must do is consciously exercise that power, day after day, thought after thought. When you wake up tomorrow morning, before your mind begins its habitual wandering toward worry and fear, seize control. Begin your day with gratitude. Begin with awareness, with visualization, with thoughts that empower your being. Watch how those first 10 minutes determine the vibration of the next 24 hours. And when challenges appear, as they always do, remember this. Your reaction is the only part that truly matters. You cannot control the outer world, but you can master your perception of it. Within that mastery lies the ultimate freedom Jung spoke of, the freedom to choose the meaning of your experience. True freedom is not the possession of all things. It is the serenity of the soul, regardless of circumstance. It is the ability to remain calm, creative, and luminous, even when the outer world trembles. That is the liberation born from inner alignment, the art of living from the inside out, rather than being enslaved by what happens outside of you. I want to share one final story. Years ago, I met a 72-year-old man after one of my talks. With tears in his eyes, he said, "I have spent my whole life worrying about things that never happened, doubting myself, and living in fear. It's too late for me." I took his hands and said, "It is never too late. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. You may have 20, 30, or even 40 years ahead. Will you live them the same way, or will you choose differently?" That man made a choice. He began to practice these principles daily, not with blind faith, but with devotion. 2 years later, he wrote to me. He had launched the business he once feared to start, reconciled with his children after decades of silence, and felt more alive than ever before. He ended his letter saying, "I only regret not learning this 50 years earlier, but I am deeply grateful to have learned it now." It does not matter how old you are, how long you've been trapped in negative thought patterns, or how many times you've failed to change. This very moment offers you the doorway to begin again, to cleanse the canvas of your mind and design your life anew. Know this: I believe in you. I believe in your capacity for transformation. Everything you need already lives within you. You do not need more talent, luck, or perfect conditions. You only need the decision to direct your thoughts consciously and to hold that decision no matter what arises. The universe mirrors the quality of your dominant thoughts. When you shift your thinking, you shift your vibration. When you shift your vibration, you alter what life sends your way. And when you alter what you attract, your entire existence transforms. It is a simple yet sacred process, and it works unfailingly for those who apply it with discipline and consistency. So here is my final challenge for you. For the next 7 days, devote your mind completely to positive thought. Just 7 days, 1 week of conscious awareness, and you will begin to witness the extraordinary truth that Carl Jung tried to teach humanity, that when the inner world changes, the outer world has no choice but to follow. Do not allow a single negative thought to remain unchallenged. Replace it instantly. Nourish your mind only with what uplifts it. Speak words that build rather than destroy. Envision outcomes that lead to success. And at the end of those 7 days, observe how you feel. Notice what has shifted within you and around you. Carl Jung would say that what you will witness is not luck, but the manifestation of your inner transformation. You will see results powerful enough to inspire you to continue. And when you complete those first 7 days, go for another 7 and then another. Soon, 30 days will have passed, then 90, then an entire year. And when you look back, you won't believe the person you've become or the reality you've created. This is your moment. This is your chance. Don't let it fade. Don't postpone your greatness. Do not wait for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is now. Take action. Take command of your mind. Discipline your thoughts toward the positive, and prepare yourself for a transformation that will surpass your wildest expectations. Thank you for being here. Thank you for investing your time in personal growth. And thank you for having the courage to seek a higher version of yourself. That courage reveals the depth of your character and the vastness of your potential. I'll see you in the next video, where we will continue this journey of transformation together. Meanwhile, remember this profound truth from Carl Jung. Your outer world is always a reflection of your inner world. Change what is within, and the world outside will have no choice but to change as well. Now go, take action, live with intention, think with purpose, and create the extraordinary life that has been waiting for you since the day you were born. Remember, you are always one decision away from completely transforming your life. Decide now. Act today. Your best life is already waiting for you.